Good morning. It's part two of how to negotiate your jewelry. In part one, we talked about how the goal of a negotiation is to end up in an agreement. And I talked about a misconception that sometimes happens where people think that a negotiation is about arguing or conflict or disagreement, but it doesn't have to be that way. And in fact, some of the most successful negotiations start off in agreement, stay in agreement, and end up in agreement. And so when we enter a negotiation for something like a piece of jewelry, what we want to do is think about all of the ways that we are already in agreement, because that makes our path towards ending up in an agreement so much faster. So, for example, let's say you enter a vintage jewelry store and you see a piece of jewelry that you like. Here are some examples of things you may already agree on with whoever is selling that piece of jewelry. One, that person who's selling the jewelry wants to sell it for a good price, and you, the person buying the jewelry, wants to buy it for a good price. The good price is an agreement. You both want a good price. We're in agreement on that. Agreement number two, there is often some emotion involved in this, right? So you have spent some time looking for a piece of jewelry that you like, and you like that one. You like the piece of jewelry that you are thinking of buying. The person who is selling the piece of jewelry has either spent time making, spent time designing, spent time sourcing, spent time curating their personal collection to release that piece of jewelry. They are also invested in that piece of jewelry emotionally. They like it, probably. And so that's a second thing that we can agree on. We like this piece of jewelry. The third thing that you can usually agree on is revolving around time. So let's say that you want to buy this piece of jewelry immediately. You love it so much, you want it immediately. The person who's selling the jewelry may also want to sell it immediately. They may have some numbers they want to hit, some goals, whatever. They might have some timeline with which they want that piece of jewelry gone from their inventory. And then there's also a flip side of this where the timeline is long. So perhaps like you are buying a custom piece of jewelry and there's some design changes, some work that needs to be done on the jewelry, and maybe the shop is busy. So they want a longer timeline on which to deliver that piece of jewelry. So then you, as the buyer, can be flexible in what type of timeline you're looking at. So those are the three agreements that we can come to typically right away when we are looking at negotiating a piece of jewelry. And you just want to have those kind of in your mind where you try to find some alignment or agreement on as many levels as you can before you enter the negotiation. All right, stay tuned for part three.